Welcome to Rich Conversations. We are in Humboldt Park, Chicago, and I'm here with Sanchit.
Nice to be here.
Welcome back to the show. This is your third time, right?
This is my third time, yes.
But a lot has happened
Absolutely.
since the last recording.
Yes, this is my third time. A lot has happened, and this is also the first time that we are not going to be talking about a book, which I'm actually excited about. So, yeah.
Well, our last episodes about the book were very enjoyable too. We discussed Sapiens by Yuval Noah Harari, and then his other one, Homo Deus. You apparently have thoughts on it. We'll
get to that.
We'll get to that. I don't know what the thoughts are, but it's good to be here in Chicago. I drove up today from Wisconsin.
Nice.
I drove down from Wisconsin. Took the work truck.
Nice.
The farm truck.
Yeah.
And now we're here in Chicago. I don't know if people can see it, but the Sears Tower is behind us, and we have a group of Frisbee players.
It's called the Willis Tower now, so...
I've been gone too long that now everyone's calling it the Willis Tower. I didn't know we did that. We changed that. No, it's been a beautiful day.
Yeah, true.
It's good to be here with you.
Absolutely. It's a good, how have you been, actually? I feel like, because it has been, I think, at least 2 to 3 years since you were still living in Chicago, and you didn't drive a truck the last time we spoke, so.
That's true.
I kind of want to know a little bit about that, right?
Yeah, so I've lived in Chicago for 16, maybe 17 years.
Yeah.
And how Sanchit and I actually met is at this bar, Lincoln Station.
Yeah.
Lincoln Station.
Best wings in Chicago.
Best many things in Chicago. Where
Old granddad.
I worked and have been affiliated with that restaurant since 2010, and then I've worked there the recent stint since 2014.
Yeah.
And then in 2023, November, there was a fire.
Yeah, I heard about this. I was away when this happened, so...
So was I. I was in Paris.
Oh my God, okay.
I had just seen... I haven't told this story on the podcast, actually, yet. So I was in Paris. I was working on a book. I've been working on a book series all last year and part of this year called Nuance and Notes. So I'll go to cities. So we have Chicago, Paris, New York, Los Angeles, Miami, and Milwaukee. And I go around and I take photos of nuances of buildings, things I find beautiful that stand out to me, and I turn them black and white. And it's this really cool project that I've really enjoyed doing. And so I was in Paris. Paris was actually one of the first ones. I did a little bit of London and New York and Chicago before then, but Paris was okay. So my last day, I'm walking around, I'm thinking, it's been a interesting trip, right? Sure. So I'm by the Notre Dame Cathedral, and I'm reading all the reconstruction with the fire. All of a sudden I get a text message from one of our regulars, Bill's regulars, just a bunch of expletives, and then a news article about station, and I see the front windows are broken, there's firefighters, and
holy shit.
And I'm like, I don't know anything about this.
People that had you as the point of contact are like, are you in the know? And you're like, actually.
And then I was getting text messages, phone calls, and I told everybody,
hey man,
I'm in Paris right now. I don't know anything. I'm gonna enjoy the rest of my day here, and then I'll handle it when I'm able to.
Sure.
And so what happened? There was a fire, and a firefighter actually stepped through a skylight. I guess one of the techniques they use for fires is they'll knock out a skylight so the smoke can go up or something.
Oh, cool.
I don't know, but he fell and was in critical condition. He ended up dying.
Oh,
Yeah, I went to the funeral later, and it's just it was this tragic thing for so many people and the community and obviously the family of the firefighter. Just really heartbreaking. And
what was the reason? Do you know? Or can you even share? Or?
There was I know they did an investigation.
Yeah,
The investigation
of
took a
course.
while because there was a death, so they have to like be really precise with it. And there's no negligence on our part.
Sure.
I think it was like a faulty electrical issue. I'm not sure.
Okay, sure.
So I don't know specifically, but
Yeah.
I just stepped back and I'm like, okay, well, I have to live a different life now. Like, my life has changed.
Yeah, sure.
And I thought, instead of redesigning life for the next like 3-4 months, why not 10 years?
Okay.
So a year prior, I was with a friend and we were talking about like 10-year visions kind of thing.
Sure.
And afterwards, after that conversation, I went back to my apartment and I tried to write like a vision of 10 years. And I could only write 3 things. And I was so upset at myself because of all the writing I do and all the reflecting and whatever, I can only write 3 things that were like very clear to me. But then, looking back at it, I was like, I'm just gonna go do those 3 things right now.
Sure.
So,
what were they?
So one was, be on the farm.
Okay, cool.
Like, and
As in bee on the farm, not wasp, or no?
yes, be like live on the farm and like live a hybrid life where I can, like today, I can just go hang out in cities and it's, but I'm back in nature, I'm back in the country and just kind of live more dynamically. I had a garden.
Okay.
I do a bunch of activities now. And
I love the way you slightly leaned in a little bit. I have a garden.
yeah, dude, it's very fruitful and prosperous.
Fruitful, nice.
It's been so great to, especially the last like 3 weeks, I'm just eating
Nice, yeah.
stuff from my garden.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
But the other one was run for president.
Nice, okay, cool. Eventually.
So I changed all my social media. I'm running for president and just putting out there my ideas.
Sure, yeah, totally.
Because something that was once said to me was like, have you put your ideas out before? And I'm like, no. So I'm just putting out ideas, seeing what happens.
Yeah.
The other one is be in love.
Be in love.
And have a family. That one isn't quite here yet.
This is actually your audition tape for Love is Blind.
Yes.
Netflix, if you're watching.
Yeah, so I was like, I'm just gonna do those.
Nice.
now. So
Have a farm, run for president, and fall in love. That is superb. I'd watch that movie. So.
Yeah. So so I ran out my lease in Chicago.
Okay, cool. Nice.
So my
Where
lease
did you live?
was up
Like
this
Lincoln
summer.
Park? Was it?
Uptown.
Uptown. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. So then I designed a studio in the farmhouse.
Nice.
And I do my stuff there. It's pretty great.
It's kind of 1.5 out of 3,
It's
right?
been about, yeah.
Okay, because like the half you're putting your ideas out there for the president bit. And...
Let's check out the YouTube channel.
This is where we put the thumbnail, but yeah.
Click below.
Yeah.
Subscribe.
Like and subscribe.
Yeah. Share.
Yeah.
Share and like.
NordVPN is, you know.
I'd like to thank our sponsor. But actually, so something that has been really on my mind is like habits and things in life.
Nice.
Where I believe that humans only need 4 things to survive: water, food, shelter, and now human connection. But when I took inventory of my own life, there was this 5th thing: caffeine, coffee, in the form of coffee, where I couldn't go a day without coffee. Multiple times. And I've tinkered with so many different variables that there's this one that I was too afraid to touch. And so I'm like, I'm gonna do it. So I did 30 days cold turkey, no caffeine.
Okay, how was it?
So I intentionally designed it to where which is the reason why I did it when I did it, was I'm back on the farm. I'm just gonna immerse myself in nature to kind of alleviate this, assign myself low cognitive tasks, things I don't have to be really intense about.
Sure, yeah, but still rewarding and engaging, right? Still things you have to do regularly, but maybe not like the most involved mentally.
It was fine. I felt after the first like half of the month, it was better, but then my first cut back, I was like Neo in the Matrix. I was like, whoa! But now my tolerance is so low. Like today, I had like half of an Americano, and I'm just like so wired right now.
So on that's just a portion size thing. Like ideally, I prefer like this much coffee, like, and that's my one, and I'll have 2 or 3 of those. But just like, man, a small Americano in Starbucks, nobody has this amount of caffeine, in my humble opinion. Like that's an insane amount. It's really a quantity thing. I think caffeine's great. I can quit it pretty easily, but really the problem is just how much we have, right? Have you seen like a large in Starbucks? It's so big. Like what the hell is wrong with people who drink that? And I remember I used to work with someone who would get like an iced coffee, and it was just like this dude would have it over the course of like till 5 p.m. and I'm like, dude, this is not okay. Like
so I've been very intentional coming back. I agree with the portion, but I thought I'll get more out of this experience. And I was more energized by observing the results of doing an extreme version of it.
Sure.
Because then the results, the like observations are very clear and distinct. So I did the 30 days no. And then now what I do is I track a lot of things in life. Like I have a whole like external brain that I've designed.
What do you use?
Just Google spreadsheets.
Then
I design it myself.
I use Obsidian, but we can talk about that in just a second.
Sponsored. Let's talk about our next sponsor, Obsidian. So I give myself 5 coffee drinks per week.
Okay.
So
and Google Sheets, but anyways.
I'm designing. So I kind of like at the beginning of the week decide which days I'm not going to have caffeine. That way it like it keeps my body kind of guessing.
Well? Yeah, sure. Yeah. Okay. Ooh, okay, cool. Yeah, sure. So I've heard this, like, Tim Ferriss used to do this thing where, like, on his cheat day, he would, like, inundate his body with, I think the guilty pleasure was ice cream. Okay. So he would just have, like, a tub, right, of ice cream. And the idea of it is that it is literally a shock to your body, right? It's, like, an incredible discipline to follow whatever other, you know, like, regimen of, I don't know, supplements, like, food, whatever it is, right? You have, like, this curated amount of, like, spinach or something like that. And then one day, it's just like, okay, body, here you go. And it like genuinely doesn't know what to do. I think like they even recommend this with creatine and like other supplements where you have this like loading phase, then you have this like consistent phase, and then you just stop it. And the idea is then your body is like it's exactly that. It keeps it guessing, right? It's like okay, I think with the creatine thing it like stabilizes the body's own production of creatine. I'm not really sure about this, but yeah, there is like some insight there where you don't you don't be regular about it, right? You actually like kind of keep it a little bit.
And I think the effects are more impactful when you do it that way. But and then I've been writing fiction, children's picture book with Ken Ferguson called The Boy in the Rocket Ship. We just had a work session today with it.
Nice.
And then I have the Nuance and Notes series that I'm just kind of sitting on right now.
So is that digital, or like do you want to print it, or like what's
I'll print it. Right now I'm kind of just sitting on it. Just kind of waiting to feel out some other things that are happening. I love it.
Yeah, I think you can expand the cities as well, right? Because literally wherever you go, you could probably do
something.
Yeah,
but now it's like, if someone pays me to do it, I'll do it for sure. But it's like, I'm move on to the next thing.
Sure, yeah. What's
you know,
the next?
like that energy.
Yeah, that's fair, yeah.
That it's like a period of life.
Yeah.
Kind of like a music album. Like this is you just
release it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Actually, I can empathize with that. So I do. I don't know if I ever told you this. I do write music, or I was in a couple of bands in my previous one.
Yeah, I've gone to some of your shows.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. You came out with us as well. I remember that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So with the songs that I write, I always feel conscious about sharing it. Like this is universal. I think also anybody who creates stuff like just doesn't want to share it because you genuinely don't think it'll be like good or whatever it is. You're afraid of the reception.
Oh, I know mine is good.
Well, you're one of the few, right? But like,
let me just make sure that it is recording, which it is. Okay. I always have that paranoid part.
That's fine. Yeah. Is it
recording?
Did you press the R button? Believe it or not, actually the current band that I play with, we started recording our jam sessions as well. And one of the guys is a studio engineer. And he keeps doing this like clap thing as well before, right? And he always like stops recording and then starts recording. And then I'm in charge of video. And I just keep my iPhone there and I hit the button and I
Yeah, that's what I'm
leave
saying.
it.
I'm all about recording.
Just record
like,
and then leave it. Do you still do that? Because I do remember you used to record like a bunch of like pretty much everything, right? And like with the idea is like completely digitizing like elements of your life, right? Maybe even make. Do you still do that?
The problem is that
you've run out of space.
Yeah, dude, cloud space. Last year.
You gotta go back to hard drives, bro. Like that's the thing. Like for real.
I now have like there's this like 5 terabyte hard drive laying around because my parents digitalized some like home photos and videos, and they just wanted to get the biggest one so that it would fit. But there's like 4.8 terabytes left of the 5, you know. So I'm like, oh, what's this? But no, the Google Drive that I have. I ran out of storage on Dropbox, which was 3 terabytes.
Yeah. Wow.
So then in like March of last year, I was like, well, I'm gonna switch over to Google Drive because they had 5 terabytes.
Yeah. Good.
Before I could even start moving stuff over from Dropbox, it's like already.
That's incredible, man. That's
taken
incredible.
up. So, but then the next. You go from paying $22 on Google Drive for 5 terabytes, and the next one, the last time I checked, is unlimited, and it's $300 a month.
Yeah, Jesus.
And I'm like,
dude, no, that's ridiculous.
And then there's a 12 terabyte with iCloud through Apple, but I don't think the iCloud system is as efficient and
it's not
user-friendly with everyone.
The word for this is there's a bit of jargon in tech that is like describes this. Interoperable, like I guess is it interoperable? The idea is it's not as plug and play. Like it's not like it's not as something that you can just take and go from one thing to another thing to another thing. Damn, I work in this industry where actually our whole bit is like that, right? It's like crypto, right? So
I find too that like the Google Drive system, almost like everybody is familiar with how to interact with Google.
Sure. Yeah. There is always a learning curve for iPhone. Well, okay, the storage thing is interesting actually because I wonder if you would be better served by. So you just need the content, right? Like actually now you could probably transcribe the stuff and leave because text is like free basically, right? Like the problem is like the audio. Audio is expensive and like it's spacious.
Audio for what?
So all of say like this stuff, right? Okay. I wonder if you could just use like a tool that transcribes text to audio, and then just store the text because it's still the data, right? That's still the same thing, right? If you have the text
in the file, go to text. That's a little
too much.
A little out of my ballpark range, I would say, for tech skills.
I'm happy to help you out with that. Like, for real, like, that actually sounds like a fun little project. Make you actually specifically a little bit
It's the video that takes up.
Yeah, the video is, obviously, the video is a problem, that we can solve that later, but, like, it's also, the audio stuff is also, like, you can squash this, basically, to nothing. Because text is basically free, right? Like,
I'd rather just make enough money to pay for unlimited storage.
Hey, that means you got to release nuance and notes.
Our sponsor for today,
Google Drive.
Alphabet,
right. If you're listening, you need an option in between 12 and 300.
No, it's 5. Yeah. 5 and unlimited.
Yeah.
5 terabytes and unlimited.
And unlimited. That's a bit ridiculous.
I was watching these YouTube videos on storage centers though, and the operations behind it.
That's ridiculous.
It takes a lot of energy to run those data centers.
You know, they were playing around with this idea. I don't know if they actually implemented it, but the idea is like, so one of the biggest problems is cooling them down, right? Because they're incredible. They heat up a lot. And so the facilities that they are stored in right now, that's the place where they lose the most power. It's not keeping them on, it's actually cooling them down, making sure they don't overheat.
Yeah.
So water is really good at actually like hosting this, and like they're right next to the ocean, like in some of these places. These ones on the coast, right next to the ocean. Yeah. So is there a way we can figure out how to just like literally keep the server like underwater, right? Like, and use the cooling power of the ocean, right? Like it's just water, right? I don't know if they did this. I do remember there was a time where Google was looking into stuff like this, but I think now they're more focused on regaining market share that they're losing to AI. But yeah.
Well, what about you?
So that's your update. Right? Yeah.
That's kind of my update.
Cool.
I think we covered a lot of it.
The most of it, right?
Yeah. I would say so.
You say so?
Yeah.
So I was in Puerto Rico for the last, I think 2 years ago, and I stayed there for a year. I moved there for a job. Before that I was in Chicago, right? And that was a pivot out of my old career from consulting into something new. That was startup. And I gotta say, I loved every second of it. yeah, I don't like to diss my former employer. I learned like an incredible amount of skills, but it like in terms of something that I want to do, like this is much more up my alley, right?
Okay.
It's so I played a variety of roles. I was a finance manager. I was a paranoia.
Sort of. I was checking the time.
Oh, okay, cool. Okay, no, I
so I know like.
Yeah, how much more? Okay, cool, yeah. I just
Good.
thought paranoia to see if it's recording or not, right?
I already did that. You missed me check it before.
Oh, shit. Oh, really? Okay, cool. Well, no, okay. So, where was I? Okay, so yeah, I played a variety of roles in this place. Frankly, it was like software engineer. I didn't know how to code, and I kind of learned it for this job, and then how to like interact with like tech stacks and stuff like that. So, all that was really rewarding. You know, I see myself now as a technologist, and I see myself also wanting to stay in this field. Okay. Specifically, like, so it's a Web3 company as well, right? And I really like this industry. Like, despite all of the scams and all of the negativity and all of the negative press, right? Like, as a nerd, it really, like, is interesting, right? Just at its core as a tool. And then B, it's the only, like, place in tech that you can work where getting acquired by, like, big tech is not the outcome, right? Like, getting acquired by Google that's not the point of Web3. The point is to break Google, right? We don't need it anymore, right? Or whatever it is, right? So you feel a bit like a pirate. And that's, cool. That's not like a debatable thing, but like, but it's a nice space, right? And so I think I've like, so that I think like understanding that about myself in terms of like a career thing that I want to do, it's been pretty important to me. So we switched to fully remote though. And you know, we've had ups and downs in the startup as well, but, that, you know, it's chaotic, but like if you like that, right? And if that's what you'd like to do, that's what you'd like to do. My visa situation makes it a bit more complicated, but still, like, you know, I've found something that I think I can get into a flow state in like very easily, right? Whether it's not even just like, oh, why don't you do like software engineering? No, it's not that. It's about the problem that we're trying to solve, the scale of the solution, the way we even think about stuff. Like, I don't know. And just like the stakes are real, right? Like if this doesn't work, it's GG, right? Like it's so it's fun. So Puerto Rico was fantastic. I will say, like, I can say this, I think, right? Basically, like the problem with Puerto Rico is that basically a bunch of LA Bitcoin billionaires live there now, and it's really like they're not fun people, right? Despite what they think, right, about themselves. A lot of people do it for like tax reasons. So ever since like I forget the name of the hurricane. Was it Katrina? It's the one where Trump went and like
that wasn't Katrina.
That wasn't Katrina. 2005, right?
Was it Rita?
Was it Rita? No, it was 2016. I remember this because he would throw like that image is in my head, right? Like it was 16 or 18. 16, I think, because I was still in college then. But yeah, whatever that was, right? So basically, like, I mean, the effects are still like there, right? There are parts of the country that didn't have electricity parts of the state, that didn't have. Actually, let's be specific. Parts of the unincorporated territory that didn't have like electricity for really long, a year about, right? And in fact, the place I still buy my coffee from, Sandra Farms, and shout out to Sandra Farms. Please buy coffee from Sandra Farms. It is the best coffee that you will ever have. I'd like to thank our sponsor, Sandra Farms, for this as well. But they like, so I remember the first time I went to the farms there, like the roads, like you could tell which. I guess it was like a county, basically, which county received more like funding. Because the roads were fine, and suddenly you enter this new one, and it's just like, it's wrecked, right? It's absolutely wrecked, like in terms of roads and stuff like that. It's tough to get to, but delicious coffee, like great place. But like you can still see the effects of like the hurricane from the past, right? And so because of that, a lot of people left the country, the territory. And as a way to kind of get people back, there's a lot of like tax grants kind of situations that the state has been playing, the territories, they've been playing around with from a legislative perspective. And like some of it works, right? I think like, you know, people are more interested in building stuff and rebuilding things, and it's pretty nice. Some of it certainly doesn't work, right? Because it attracts basically these people who've already made it and just want to have some like closed community to like do nothing in, right? Like, so that was a bit weird for sure, but yeah, I did my best, I think, to explore as much of the island as I could. It's unbelievably beautiful. Unbelievably so. Like, rainforest, and it's got like a mountain range in the middle, so you have this like desert shadow in the west. So it's kind of more.
Where were you living?
I was living in San Juan.
Okay.
Specifically Santurce. So San Juan, there's like old San Juan. Yeah, Old San Juan's kind of this like island there, where the old fort was, and now is it's incredibly pretty, right? Old cobblestone pathways. The colors of there's big regulation around what colors you can paint the buildings because it preserves like it's really, really nice. And then you have the other part, like all the other parts of so outside of Old San Juan, the rest of the city kind of is connected to it just by a series of bridges.
Okay.
Condado facing the beach, and then south of that is kind of where I was staying, Santurce. So still within like old San Juan, but yeah. A lot of the exploration I tried to do was about nature. So I feel like I became more connected with nature in general because the island has so much to offer you. So like I said, with this mountain range in the middle, west of it is more arid, east of it is like equatorial, like rainforest types. Really, really pretty. The largest bioluminescent bay in this hemisphere, I think, is there, like brightest. Okay. And that tour was fantastic. I every time a friend of mine visited, I just went to the same place. And I knew the guy so well, he gave me like free, okay, I just got him business. I was like, dude, like all my friends are coming here, right? Like he's like, dude, you can like do this for free whenever, right? So it was really pretty. We did like glass bottom kayaks, and then he would do like a tour of the Milky Way that you could see.
Oh, that's so cool.
Dude, yeah, good.
Did you feel your body heal when you were in nature?
I felt, okay, heal is an interesting word. I felt, so I remember the first few times I felt like helpless. And then it was like awe and wonder. And then I felt like small and humble, right? And I think like something I think about actually post that is like how many times ancient man would look up at the ancient man, but not even ancient, right? Like pre like electric lights on streets, right? Like the olden days, right? Right? Like you could look up at the sky and just have a sense of wonder.
Yeah.
Right? Because you could see so much. And now like even in a few like hours, you look up and you just see like planes and like a few occasional dots. And I think it makes us, I don't know if this is true, but I do think that I have to believe that it makes us feel a bit more alone and sort of self-centered, right? Like in the sense that, you know, we are only here, we're pretty alone in this thing. But actually, if you look up, I mean, there's so much going on in the night sky in general. It's very pretty. There's something very, very pretty about like a sky littered with stars.
Yeah.
Specifically in Vieques, which is where this bioluminescent bay was. Okay. So all the lights in Vieques, all the street lights were red because turtles don't get distracted by that. Like the white light, they'll think it's the moon and they'll go towards that instead of the ocean. And then B, you can just see more of the night sky. So
what was your favorite thing about Puerto Rico? Your experience in Puerto Rico?
Honestly, it was kind of like all of the like hikes and trails I tried to do on my own and like failed in many of them, right? There was this one I heard about that it's a good story now, right? It wasn't that great when I did it, but there was this like natural infinity pool that existed. And I found it through this Instagram story, and I was trying to use the Instagram story as like the map, right? To like go. And I ended up going and like basically I went like down this like I got lost, right? But I went, like, climbed up this hill and then climbed, like, this way and then went back down and I was just at the same place, right? Like, that I started. And that took me, like, 35 minutes. I, like, was not wearing great shoes. I cut myself on my foot. It was, like, a whole thing. But honestly, like, eventually I was like, okay, cool, let me, like, replan this. And I did it on my own, like, properly again, right? Like, and I think, like, a trust in myself to, like, figure some stuff out like that, which is pretty nice. I guess I did bolder things when I was there living alone because it was it's completely new, right? Yeah. And you can get by with English in San Juan, but not so much across the rest of the island. So it is quite like an unfamiliar place, right?
Yeah.
I learned a lot about how much of language is not spoken, right? So you finish whatever shopping at a grocery store and you're like, where do I keep this damn cart? Like I can't just leave it here. I don't want to be that guy, right? I'm just like looking around helpless, and one person I make eye contact with, I just point at the cart and I just do that. Universal symbol for where do I put this cart, right? Yeah. And he's like, you know, without even like, there's no words exchanged, but he actually understands my predicament, everything about like, probably even like my context and stuff, and he just helps me like that, and like that's it, right? There's so much of like stuff that we do that's just like actually not even spoken, which was nice. I mean, these like little moments I'll keep with me, right, for the rest of my life. So,
What did you not expect, or like what did you experience that you didn't expect living in Puerto Rico?
Didn't expect is an interesting one because I actually I don't think I had very many expectations.
Sure.
Going in, right? I really think that like I was like, this is just an adventure. This is just going to be whatever it's going to be. I have no idea what it's going to be actually, right? I knew it was going to be hot,
which is probably the appropriate way to go into it.
I think so. I think so, right? Like, I mean, like I think I'm not stressed. I was more focused on the career aspect. I was more focused on this job and this new setting. There are a lot of things there I didn't expect, right? Like how chaotic startup would be, like I did not expect, right? And that was definitely a learning, right? But this place itself, I mean, it was really magical. I still remember, like, touching down like there, and I was on my way to this, like, we had this like crazy office that we didn't need to like pay that much money for, right? By any means, but it was nice, right? But like on my way there, I established my inability to like speak Spanish with the Uber driver, so I was like perfectly silent, right? And I like closed my eyes. I was like, where the hell am I? Right? Palm trees, idyllic beaches, and like just relentless heat and like humidity. But I was like, what is this place? Right? How did I land up here? Right? And there was a sense of wonder, I think, associated with that. Right? It's like, okay, cool. Let's figure it out. Right? And I think like so. I did a Europe solo trip earlier this year. Because I never like studied abroad in college, and I feel like a lot of kids like get it like that. And so I was like, you know what, like, and not just to relive that, but I was like genuinely curious. So it was like Hamburg, Copenhagen, and Stockholm, and I did completely on train, stayed there, worked while remote and stuff like that. And one of the places I stayed in a hostel, but like I don't think I would have had the guts to do that kind of solo travel if I hadn't even done something like just let me live in Puerto Rico for a year.
Wow.
So
you're back here in Chicago. Why Chicago, and what did you miss about it? And
so, okay, I have been thinking about this a lot, right? Because I think also like with, the whole world is an oyster for sure. I can go anywhere, but like I always knew that Puerto Rico would be temporary. In fact, I left all of my stuff in a storage unit in Chicago, which I will be lying to you if I said that like that wasn't one of the reasons, right? That I came back here.
Dude, storage units.
Oh my God.
This is on my radar so much recently.
Why is that?
One, like when I come back from Chicago, and I'll like, if I take the train, then I drive another like 40 minutes to the farm, and there's a lot of big buildings that are just storage
units, just people's stuff. It's insane, right? It's just, why do we have so much? My God, right?
And even just like family experiences with the light system on that, right? Having a barn with no animals, it seems like it becomes storage. I don't know.
Yeah. It is
storage. Americans have so much stuff.
And they keep making more, right? Like
we keep buying more, and just
unbelievable.
So
storage. So storage, my stuff was here. My friend groups were here as well, right? Like there was a certain sense of like it was familiar. It was a place that I had like spent 5 years before, right? And I liked my life here. I liked the people that I knew, the circles that I had made, and all of that, and that definitely factored into my decision making as well. I think like home is where your friends are was the like lesson from Puerto Rico as well. Actually, this was an interesting thing, right? There was a point I remember, like 9 months in, the friend of mine who got me the job, he had also moved out. So that was like a big connection I had with the place. And then a couple of the other like friends from his like group and that also became mine, they also started to like split and go away, right? And so I was like, well, okay, it's getting back to like it now feels unfamiliar again, right? This place. And so I think I definitely just basically at that point was like, okay, cool, like friends is an important part, like some social scene. And I think this ties back to a little bit of, like what you said, like the 5 things that people need, right? Like human connection is
connection.
Oh my God, it's very important, right? Like it's very tough to actually just like be alone, right? Like I think
it's unhealthy.
Well, unhealthy is fine. Like I think there is all of the like a lot of the old world wisdom comes from like Stoicism, Buddhism have this thing about meditation, being alone, and doing penance like on your own, like sitting in silent reflection with your thoughts. And I think there is like the reason I think that they say that is because it actually takes an incredible amount of strength to do that, like in a way that is like healthy, right? Because I think like it's very easy to just go crazy, right? Like, and so human connection super important, and I feel like I really had that here. So it's one of the reasons I came back. And I've lived all over in the city, lived in Pilsen, lived in Lincoln Park, west and north best. So just go Logan Square, man. And
yeah. So since our last conversation, what would you say you're most proud of?
It's got to be related to career for me. It's got to be related to like the unfamiliarity of both Puerto Rico and like the environment in which I was working, and how I honestly like rallied from that. I was really like I look back on, I don't know. So I've started writing as well, and I use Obsidian sponsors.
What is Obsidian?
Yeah, so it is literally a second brain. They have a view of the note. So everything is a note, right? And then you can link two notes pretty easily. So open square bracket, name of the other note, close square bracket. There's a link, and there's this graph view. So you can form your own discipline of how you want to do it, right? Like, and the way I do it, like I can actually track like the threads, basically. It looks like neurons, right? Like as little things connected to each other, and you can tell. And then I've also developed my own, like, not my own, it's definitely inspired by some others, but like I forget the word for this. Like every note the title of the note is the content in one sentence. So that way I'm not fumbling around for what is this note about. Like I don't have it's not generic, right? So it's that's actually one of the names of my notes, right? The title of every note should be the sentence in one sentence. And then I write why inside of the note. But then if I ever have that, I'm like, it's this is the thought, right? That I want to like put down in paper.
Is it intuitive?
It takes learning. So actually if you, it's just a note-taking tool. The note-taking part is pretty intuitive, but what isn't is the discipline that you form around how you want to recollect it, right? The thing about the tool is that you can mold it to however you want to work with it. It just takes you a while to figure out what your system is.
Okay.
So what worked for me was that, so I miss this about like physical books, is that at the end of the day, you run out of space, you close the book and then you buy a new one. And then you kind of like adjust your system and your process and your thinking, right? Because you've actually ended something and done something else. In Obsidian, everything is in a vault, which is just like a folder on your computer with a bunch of these text files.
Okay.
So what I've started doing is I'm like, okay, this vault is done. I'll open a new vault with some lessons that I've learned from here. So it's the same concept of closing that book and that system and starting afresh with a new system. And it all builds on each other and like whatever it is. But like I'm on V5 now, right? And I think 5 is pretty good. Like I'm stable. I don't have like a bunch of like random like plugins and stuff like that. I've stuck to like what I think actually just works for me in terms of these notes. So
okay.
There was something, Obsidian. I think you'd enjoy the tool. So
I've enjoyed my system too, because it's based off of like a box score of like sports.
Okay.
So it's all like kind of number driven and based on action items.
Okay.
And if I get those done, each week I either win or lose, just like objectively.
Nice. Okay.
Right now
cool.
I'm 17 and 19.
Ooh. Home? Are you playing home or away?
Well, I have 17 wins, 19 losses.
Oh, okay. Just overall record.
I started 1 in 9. But it's just like,
so you're just setting yourself up for the big comeback.
It's also like very punishing to myself in a way. Like the expectations are high, so the losses are like,
they count more, I guess.
They're I don't know, we don't even need to talk about
no this is cool. I like this. This is pretty good. This is good.
So I break it down. I have weekly action items,
okay,
and that's kind of like free throws.
Okay.
So I want to get at least 70% free throws.
Nice.
Then I have daily action items where like each day I just like, I read this book called Getting Things Done by, his name starts with a D, not David Brooks.
David Brooks.
Yeah.
New York Times guy.
No, not that guy. I forget what it is, but it's just like having a system for yourself.
Okay.
And this goes to your point too of like, if you're someone who wants to develop their potential, reach their goals in life, have aspirations, ambitions, it's really important to not rely on willpower, but either create a system or take on a system that works for you. Your success is basically coming down to your processes.
Yeah.
And so these daily action items are like field goal percentages. The wins, losses are kind of like football in a way.
it's gamifying
and then I do weekly
everything, right?
Gamifying.
Yeah.
I gamify life. It makes it fun, and then Monday mornings I'll take 2 hours and I just do a weekly review. I do all the numbers, and then I just like break it down, and I have certain questions that I answer, and
sure.
And then I prepare for the next week, and it's like it's my favorite.
Yeah, it's great. It's amazing.
I love it.
Planning rocks, man. Like, so it's, objectively fun. Yes.
Yeah, and what are you energized for coming up in the next 3 months or so?
Next 3 months, let's see, so end of the year. Okay, so, like, a lot of people have been saying to me, like, oh, dude, it's like September, I can't believe it's September, oh my God, like, summer's over. Honestly, this year, I don't feel that. Like, it's actually the first year in a while, and I really think it's because I have done, like, very meaningful things very deliberately. So at the start of this year, I got my uncle's car, and I drove it from SF to Chicago.
Okay.
I did this over 3 weeks. I only drove on weekends. I didn't drive because I was working on the weekend. I was staying somewhere.
Oh, interesting.
Yep. You know what's more interesting? It's a one road, 80 all the way.
Okay.
From SF to Chicago. Isn't that crazy?
Highway 80?
Yeah,
okay.
I-80.
Or I-80. Okay.
I-80, and then once you enter Illinois, 88. But like, isn't this? You could take 80. You just show up in the south side, right? That's the thing. And I lived north now, so I was like, okay, 88 will be fine. But isn't that like, that's genuinely mind-blowing, right? It's like one road that I was on basically from SF to here. But okay, so that took like 2 weeks at the start. Then I did, I was in Boston for a while. I became an uncle recently. I did my Europe travel as well, and like by the time I was finally in Chicago, it
Dude,
was
you did a lot this year.
I've really done a lot this year. I was actually just like April, May or something like that, right? And then like even this summer, I've been very deliberate about activities that I've wanted to do. I went to Wisconsin for the first time. Actually, it was really nice. I went to Green Bay for like a friend's baby shower.
Okay.
Hiking the lake is much prettier over there because it's like gorgy and hilly and stuff like that. So it was really nice, hilly, like just undulating, right? Like it just goes up and down. But yeah. So yeah, I'm kind of in just like this winter. I'm not really sure kind of what this has got planned for me, but I've got one more trip to Mexico that I want to go for the Day of the Dead there, and I found a group. Yeah, I found a group to go with, and we're gonna enjoy that. I think so. So I'm looking forward to that, and then finally, I think 2024 has been pretty good to me so far, right? And I'm kind of enjoying. I'm looking forward to it ending on a high as well, right? So
that's awesome.
Yeah,
that is awesome. So what are you curious about recently? Or we could circle back and talk about Harari.
Harari? Well, I can do both, frankly. So curious about. Okay, one thing in Puerto Rico that it kind of ties into some of the ritual stuff also we spoke about. So Puerto Rico, very Catholic place, right? Christmas in Puerto Rico was like a scene, man. It was like 2 months. Like basically, they really start like all the Christmas decor at like 1st December, and then it ends in the 3rd weekend of January. I think it was like San Sebastian. It's just giant party that happens on San Juan over the weekend. Basically, the whole island, anyone under the age of 25, right, just shows up to like San Juan.
Wow.
So it's packed. But okay, so it's very Catholic, right? It's very and traditionally so, right? And I like it really rubbed off on me. So one of my brother-in-law had given me a book, The Brothers Karamazov by Dostoevsky, and I was reading that. It's also a religious book during like Dostoevsky's religious phase as well. A lot of conversations about rationality versus spirituality, like morality in a world without morals or whatever it is, right? A lot of interesting themes that the book explores. What are vices? Who can disjudge? Who can decide? And stuff like that. So yeah, I think like something I'm curious about is like this role that it has played in our lives for so long, and like the importance of some of these like religious rituals and them going away, but like we still kind of capture them somehow, right? Through these like a lot of these like gamifications that we do and these systems that we play, I feel like are our brains secretly telling us, oh, like religion kind of give us that like fix, right, in some sense, and we're trying to crave that, right, and we do these other forms. Now, is one healthier than the other? I don't know the answer to that, right? I would like to think so. But yeah, so it's something I've been more interested in, at least curious about, like finding.
I've been reading. Autobiography of a Yogi.
Oh, cool.
Recently.
Okay,
Yeah.
I haven't read this.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was the way I kind of choose to read books now is like I get like kind of a sign, or there's something that sticks out to me and I note it, and I'm like, okay. If I go through my books and I set aside like 10 books these are the ones I'm going to read next. It's the most surefire way for me not to read those books. It's like, for this one, a close friend of mine reached out and he asked if I've read it before. And I said, no, I haven't. I haven't read it, but I do have it because I read the spiritual biography of George Harrison back 3 years ago. And this book was mentioned all the time. So a lot of times I get clues in other books. And I bought it. And then apparently this was a...
Yeah, I'd love to borrow this next time. So.
At Steve Jobs' funeral, everybody got a black box, like the size of a shoebox.
Okay.
Inside of it was this book.
Interesting. All right.
That's
actually really good. That's really good.
So I've been reading it. It's kind of like a...
Is it genuine autobiography, or is it just like a kind of like set of lessons, insights, whatever it is?
No, it's an autobiography. He goes through his story and kind of... He does a great job of kind of breaking down Hinduism.
Oh, cool.
More like teaching Hinduism to like people that are Westerners. Sure. But also ties in a lot of Christian principles.
Sure.
Yeah, pretty interesting. I'm like halfway. I read all this. I like reading all this stuff.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's fun, yeah. Okay, I've been reading more fiction of late because I feel like I want to read for fun.
Okay.
Like, I had this phase, in Puerto Rico, actually, this happened, right? I just felt like nonfiction, I was tired of getting lectured at. Like, stop telling me how to live my life, right? It's like, there's almost like, I felt like 15 years old rebelling against my dad or something like that, right? Like, or whatever it was. But I wanted to read for fun. And then I just rediscovered, like, when I read Dostoevsky, I mean, it was magical, right? I was like, this is... Really? I had never read that book before, right? And I'd never read one of these, like, Russian greats ever, right? And it was... it filled me with so much joy. Like, I read Frankenstein, like, the OG version. I read Invisible Man. All of these, like, old classics. Okay. Dude, we used to have... In our school library, we had all of these books. But I discovered, like, very late in my life that these were, like, the abridged versions with, like, images and stuff. Okay. So I thought I've read, like... A Tale of Two Cities and Great Expectations. Yeah. No, I haven't. I've read some like abridged version,
dude,
right?
Those
with like
books are so thick.
They're really good, right? That prose and that style is something that, at least for me, I think it like speaks to me, right? So like that's kind of been on my list, is to actually go through some of these like just these, I don't know, like if you were to do a degree in some elite liberal arts college, an English degree in some elite liberal arts college, what would your reading list be? And that's the list that I want to go through for a bit. Okay. Right, so Robert Fagles, I don't know how to say his name, but he did the original translation of the Odyssey. That's on my list as well. Right, okay. So the original, like, I think there's a story associated with this book. I think it was the first, after the Bible. I'm not sure before or after that, but it was the first like translated work in the printing press. It was one of the first few things that they printed, is the Odyssey, but not in the ancient Greek, in the common tongue. Wow. And it was, so reading wise, that's, I know that you'd like a lot of the spiritual books, right, for sure, but
I've been having so much fun writing fiction lately.
Really? Oh, I'd love to read this.
Dude, I love it, yeah.
I'd really love to read this, right? This is great.
I'll share it with you.
For sure.
Yeah. Six chapters in.
Okay, are you doing it as a blog?
Like 13,000 words in.
Nice.
Yeah. No, I'm doing it how I wrote my memoir, which was like in scenes. So a chapter is broken up into
kind of like Dune.
3 or 4 scenes.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of the feedback I got, was how digestible and easy it was to read, because it was just like
sure.
Just
like Dune.
It's been fun.
Yeah. Or even Game of Thrones is like this. Yeah, just like moments. Suddenly you're in like this place and this stuff happens and there's an ending.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed it lately. It's kind of that, when you mentioned flow state earlier.
Yeah,
I that's where my mind went. It was like, that's how I've been. Lately.
That's the drug, man. Yeah. Like that's the when you're doing something and you're actually completely in love with it, without any like no coffee, no tea, nothing, whatever it is, right? You're just doing this thing and you're really like in a cool headspace trying to solve this problem. That's a very addictive feeling.
Yeah. All right. Well, anything else?
Well, I can end with my Yuval thoughts, right? I know
what
I did the 2 episodes.
I'm
my take is just that, like, I think of late, right, I've become slightly more untrusting of anybody that says right now we are living in an incredibly special moment, and right now is the most special moment out of all of the moments that humanity has been around. This is the most special one, which I think Yuval, like, on some reflection, like, falls into that category, right? Like, that's not to say that, like, I don't, like, disagree with a lot of the things that he says in this book, right? I think in the second one, I'm maybe a little bit more hesitant or reticent to, like, say, like, to extrapolate from his conclusions and stuff like that. But the point is, like, a lot of people, I think, make a lot of money, right? Like, I think the more nuclear your take, right, like, is, like, the more far-reaching your, like, fame or whatever, right? Okay. So yeah, like, I would say, like, people that do that, I'm slightly more untrustworthy, just a little bit. That doesn't mean...
Have you watched any of his interviews since COVID? I haven't.
Not since COVID.
Okay.
No, I haven't. But yeah,
there's this interview with Mark Zuckerberg that he has.
That he did? Oh, cool.
I have it on my watch later, but I haven't watched it yet on YouTube.
Yeah. Do you think Zuck's gonna run for president?
I don't know. Is that a rumor?
I think so, right? I remember in 2015 he was doing the whole, like, oh, I'm gonna visit, like, rural America. Right? Oh. That was great.
You know what I've learned about rich people?
Tell me.
The wealthy people I know, they see kind of like capitalism as kind of an instrument or a mechanism to make this money or energy to then live the life they want to live and help out those immediately around them and their community.
Yeah.
They don't, however, have the mindset of helping everyone else reach that.
Yeah.
It's more so like, okay, I see how I can do this here to help the people in my immediate. Their minds don't tend to go to the collective because they kind of feel like in their experience it's up to the individual to then like
to pull themselves up by whatever, right?
To like you know
I think there's
I don't see Zuckerberg. He's too interested in making money, I think, to think more about the collective that way.
Yeah. Cool helmets.
That's what. Yeah. So
No, I think that's an interesting thought there, right? Is I don't. For me, with the Zuckerberg president thing, it's just like, dude, like, I think it's a popularity contest, and it's a popularity contest. And while he has done a lot to become, he's pretty popular now, right? There was a time where Zuck was getting, like, shit on every day, right? And I do think he's, like, rehabilitated his image a little bit. You know, like, I think, like, okay, on the principled stance of, like, what it means to actually, like, run for politics and like that. Sure, yeah, I'm not sure. Like, he certainly got chops in running, like, a large organization, right? Which was, like, better, right? That you cannot take that away from him. Is he principled enough? Maybe, right? Is he more principled than other politicians that are there today? Sure, some. Maybe not all, but definitely some. But, like, at its core, I do think it is a popularity contest still, right? And I don't think he'll win that, right? I don't think, like, he can run, sure. Like, will he win? Probably not, right?
I don't know. I feel like the presidency now is always, it can always now be up in the air.
It's the post-Trump phenomenon, right? Like, genuinely, it is like what's going on?
Trump proved, for whatever opinions people have of Trump, like, he demonstrated you don't have to just, like, be in politics your whole life, work your way up.
No, not at all. There's a good quote
about
this.
That's why I'm running for president. Inspire the future.
Inspired by Donald Trump.
There's an element of it where, like, I'm like...
Yeah, so there's a good quote that we can end on this as well, right? It says Donald Trump is the most successful clown in, like, American history. Where if a job of a clown is to show a mirror to people, to show, like, what the society has become, he kind of has done that, right? Like, in some sense, right? Like, it's like, oh, it's all a sham or whatever it is, right?
It's
like
a show. It's a
show, right?
I view it as... It's a spectacle.
Yeah.
You'd like this book, Spectacle of the Society.
Ooh, cool, son. Good title.
By Guy Debord. It's like this French writer from the, like, 60s.
Guy Debord? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Interesting. This guy called...
The Spectacle of Society.
There's this guy called This guy called Bruno Maceis, who's got a similar theory about America. Like, it's not I don't know. His is like, it's all virtual, right? Like, he has, what's the quote? I don't know if it's his or if he's got it from someone else. It's like, Americans have Disneyland to remind them that their world is not Disneyland already, right? Like, they have to remember that they're not living in a virtual reality, so they create another virtual reality to go to, right? I was like, oh, that's the fake one, right? So it's like, or whatever it is. But it's an interesting, like, thought, right? And I haven't read that book by him. But this is part of his canon or whatever, right? So yeah.
Interesting. Well, it's been great. We're the last ones here in the park.
Absolutely.
It looks like
it does. Lights are dim, but
thanks for being here. This has been great to catch up.
I know, right? For real, we should just do this like more regularly as well. So.
Absolutely. So thank you for being here.
Cool.
Inspire the future.